Hey there, listeners, and welcome to Film Jot Reviews, John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. Now, it's safe to assume that with this being the third installment of the franchise, if you like the other two, then you'll be pleased with this one, and if you haven't seen the others, while it may be a bit confusing at times, it's still a superb action film. Just keep in mind that it is rated R, so it is more intense and graphic than others. The movie picks up almost immediately after the events of Chapter 2, with John being excommunicated and forced into a sense of desperation that we've never really seen with the character. The first 20 minutes alone are such a well crafted blend of the character's desperation and absolutely phenomenal fight choreography that is totally worth the ticket price. After that, the film hits this repetitive strive of action sequence, world building, then action sequence and more world building, plot beats, repeat, which oddly enough worked at pacing the film and keeping it from being too much of one or the other up until about the third act, but I'll get into the final act later. I do want to make a note that all the remaining side characters from previous films return and each get a moment of appreciation, which I personally enjoyed, and also brought in some new blood whom also had their moments that felt natural within the film. Most notably, Halle Berry's character. They introduce and build her in such a way with her attack dogs, and they use her without lingering too much or having her steal the focus away from John or the film, which is brilliant and tricky to do, and I think they just do it correct and justice. The movie trailer also teases a sequence with her and her attack dog, and without spoiling or overhyping it, it delivers without being too intensified or overdone. Now, I can easily spend almost this whole review gushing about everything that I loved and that worked, but I do want to take the time to bring up some minor issues that I had with the movie. First off, although I praise the film for its pacing, during the third act, basically the last 30 minutes or so, the film, although it's incredible and choreographed so well with its sequences, that it does go on for just a tad too long, where not just myself but even the audience began to grow numb and stop cheering during all the badass moments or even reacting to the horrific pain being dealt during the sequences, which, for being your final act of the film, is not really a great sign that you're losing interest when you should be wrapping things up and closing off. My other weird issue, without getting into too much of spoiler territory, is that I would like to point out that the word in the title of the film, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Parabellum is the word I want to point out, which the word defined is actually a type of pistol or gun, which is fitting for the movie and the franchise. But the phrase parabellum is also Latin for prepare for war, which is even more fitting for what this movie is. As I mentioned before, this film hits a stride of repeating action and world building, etc. Within all that world building, it kind of sums up to one big setup for another movie, a continuation. Parabellum, prepare for war, so I can only assume that Chapter 4 will just be war. Not that I'm against seeing more of this character or the world that these films have created, but as a moviegoer, I do worry about the franchise overextending itself and trying to be bigger and better than the last film, but typically in times like this, trying to be bigger doesn't always equal better. Not every franchise can outdo itself like the Avengers, and I don't want to see this franchise become a Pirates of the Caribbean or Fast and Furious where it becomes this dumb, deluded, long-running franchise that, yeah, people are showing up to see, but are, in a sense, stop caring for what's going on and the characters that we're following. So, like I said, I'm on board for a fourth film, but I do hope that with it we get a conclusion. Overall, if you like the previous films, you'll love this one. It's good. Trust me, I really enjoyed it. If you like intense action, you'll still, for the most part, enjoy this movie. If you don't like mindless killing in film, then this movie, hell, this franchise is not for you. Anyways, thanks you guys for listening. That is my review for John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. You guys can follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter at FilmJot. I'm on Instagram at film_jot, and I believe it's roughly the same thing for Facebook. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, this is FilmJot. Goodbye, everyone.